Hello and welcome to a special edition of the 11 on 11. I'm Ashley King. For the next 30 minutes, we're looking back at our top 11 stories from 2025. We begin with some major developments in a story that made last year's list. The Arkansas father who was charged with killing an accused sex offender whom he found in a car with his 14-year-old daughter is now running for Lonoke County Sheriff. Aaron Spencer launched his campaign in October 2025, almost a year after his arrest. If he's elected in November 2026, Spencer will take over the agency that arrested him. A short time later, Lonoke County Sheriff John Staley shared a statement announcing his re-election campaign. All of this is playing out as Spencer prepares to face a jury. He's still facing second-degree murder charges for the death of 67-year-old Michael Fossler, who at that time faced over 40 child sex crime charges involving Spencer's daughter. Right now, his trial is set for January 26, 2026. But that wasn't the only high-profile case that made headlines here in Arkansas and across the country. Tommy Norman, a North Little Rock police officer who made a name for himself as a community influencer, was arrested this year, an incident that eventually led to his retirement from the force. Norman was arrested on September 13th and charged with one count of third-degree domestic battery. According to investigators, the charge stems from what is described as a, quote, domestic violence incident. He later pled not guilty to the charges before he was released on a $350 bond and placed on administrative leave. About a week later, Norman announced his retirement after nearly 3 decades working with the North Little Rock Police Department. In a statement released on social media, he said he looks forward to continue serving the community in a different capacity. For years, Norman became well known for his compassionate form of community policing throughout the North Little Rock community. People living there say they have seen a lot of change and trust built in their community because of his efforts. Now he is known worldwide for his efforts in bridging gaps between himself and his community, with close to 4 million followers on social media. Then there was the shocking resolution to a missing persons case. Tori Millsack of Hot Springs disappeared in June 2024, leading police and her family on a year-long search. She was last seen on June 6th of that year. Her family later filed a missing persons report after not hearing from her for several weeks. As police searched, her brother Jason Hamill did everything he could to find answers and bring her home. We spoke to Jason about his efforts, what may have happened to Tori, and the last thing she said to him. And on June 19th, 2025, Tori was found. According to officials, she walked into a gas station, told the staff who she was and that she'd been missing for a year. When police arrived, it was revealed that there was actually a warrant out for her arrest. She admitted to officers she had run away after an arrest for allegedly breaking into a car back in Hot Springs. She was then booked in the Garland County Jail on that outstanding warrant. As for her family, they did post on social media that they're just glad she's safe. And let's turn now to the big government stories we followed this year. Our first actually happened at the end of the year. On December 11th, the Arkansas Supreme Court delivered a landmark ruling that could upend the state's direct democracy process. The High Court ruled that the legislature can change amendments put in the state constitution by voters. The case immediately reinstates some 24 laws passed by the legislature that set rules and limits for the state's medical marijuana program. Opponents argued lawmakers couldn't do that since voters approved the marijuana amendment as is back in 2016. But now the Supreme Court says the Constitution does allow lawmakers to make changes if they approve them by a 2/3 vote. After the ruling, Carter Thweet spoke to a constitutional law expert about the decision and how it was made.
They have ruled that the state legislature by a 2/3 vote can amend or repeal a constitutional amendment that was initiated by the people.
Bowen School of Law professor Joshua Silverstein is well versed on Thursday's ruling by the state Supreme Court. This all started when Arkansas citizens wrote and passed an amendment legalizing medical marijuana in 2016. Since then, our lawmakers have passed 28 changes limiting its power, leading 2 medical marijuana companies to sue, saying they can't do that. The Supreme Court Thursday said lawmakers can, overturning a decision that stood for 74 years.
In the 1950s, the state Supreme Court said it is inconceivable that when Amendment 7 was passed to the Arkansas Constitution, they intended to give the legislature the power to overturn constitutional amendments. The court yesterday said it is quite conceivable, and in fact, that is how the language reads.
The court based its decision on Article 5, Section 1 of the state constitution, which reads, "No measure approved by a vote of the people shall be amended or repealed by the General Assembly, except upon a yea and nay vote of 2/3 of all the members elected to each house of the General Assembly." Over at the Arkansas Public Policy Panel, which works on ballot initiatives, Executive Director Bill Kopsky isn't a fan.
It's very problematic because, again, it's the will of the voters in passing initiated acts or constitutional amendments is quite clear, and the Arkansas legislature shouldn't be able to go and change those on a whim.
The court's decision was unanimous, although Justice Rhonda Wood said it should only apply to the medical marijuana amendment, and lawmakers shouldn't necessarily be able to change any citizen-led amendment. One thing's for sure, the decision could have far-reaching consequences.
The politicians at the state legislature can override the will of the voters and amend the Constitution at will.
The state legislature, under a fair reading of yesterday's decision, could go back and alter every single citizen-initiated constitutional amendment ever adopted, including the term limits amendment and much else.
Well, 4 down and 7 to go. Our look back at the top 11 stories of 2025 continues when we come back. Welcome back. Well, 2025 was the year Google set its sights on Arkansas. The tech giant announced plans to build a $10 billion data center campus in West Memphis, a project described as, quote, the largest private capital investment in Arkansas history. The West Memphis City Council approved the project in May. The 1,100-acre site will be located just south of Bollinger Road near Memphis, Tennessee, and will be home to one of the most advanced data infrastructure campuses in the entire country. Once complete, the center will include multiple hyperscale data center facilities, office buildings, internal access roads, and an enhanced substation, stormwater infrastructure, and more. From Google to Amazon, the e-commerce company has been a staple here in Central Arkansas for several years thanks to its fulfillment centers. But one of the most prominent facilities in the area is closing its doors for good after failing to meet building and seismic codes. Maya Ellison took a closer look at the announcement and how it impacted Amazon Lit One employees.
Very disappointing. It puts like a sour taste in your mouth for the company in general.
Georgie Wagner received her offer letter to work at Amazon's Lit One facility starting October 30th. She couldn't imagine that she would never walk through the doors of the facility again.
On October 29th, I got a phone call from Amazon Job Teams, which is who does the hiring. And they were like, hey, look, we're having issues at the facility, but we're going to pay you for your time until your next start date, which was, I think, the 13th.
Amazon officials say they were informed of the building's structural flaws, prompting officials to announce a 3-day closure on October 22nd. That date was extended from November 7th to the 21st.
13th rolls around and I get another phone call. Hey, we're pushing it. We can't open yet. And then on the 19th, we got emails saying that we're terminating everyone that was a seasonal employee.
In a statement, Amazon officials say, quote, errors in the initial design of the building and failing to meet seismic code leaves them to indefinitely close the doors of the 4-year-old facility. 4,000 employees inside the 3.6 million square foot building, now without a job. And while Amazon says employees will be provided 90 days of pay and transfer opportunities, Wagner explains that's a category she doesn't fall under.
When they posted saying that they were paying all of their full-time employees, I was like, no, they're not, because you just fired a good portion of your employees that hadn't even got to start yet, but you were paying us to work for you.
For Wagner, she says it's a burden that leaves her uncertain about where to go next, not just for her, but her sister and husband, who also worked at the facility. The decision leaves her struggling to plan for the holidays.
It's upsetting because more or less we're thinking about it in the long terms of we can't help with Christmas.
It's an ongoing story that we've covered for the last several months. In September, Carter Thweet spoke with U.S. Senator John Bozeman about the issues and the farmers begging for more help.
Farmers face a plethora of challenges these days. That could be anywhere from crop prices to input prices to weather.
Tyler Oxner knows what he's talking about. With the Arkansas Farm Bureau, he works with thousands of farmers every year. Of those challenges he mentioned, one stands out.
Input prices are going up steadily. Commodity prices just haven't been able to keep pace with those.
That means it costs more for farmers to produce their crops, but the money they get in return just isn't as much. Whitney Isbell Jones sees it firsthand, working at family-owned Isbell Farms.
A lot of farmers that we know and love that have farmed for years and that's all they've ever known are going out of business.
Isbell Jones says on the outside, her farm near England looks to be doing well. But if you look at the books and the money they're making, it'll tell a different story.
Rice prices are about 30% less than they were last year. So 30% is a lot. And that is something that we can't control whatsoever. And also what we can't control are our input costs. And we know that everything in the world is more expensive than it was a year ago.
I talked with Senator John Bozeman about what could be done. His office attended the meeting of farmers in Northeast Arkansas, and as the Senate's agriculture chairman, he pushed for policies to help farmers in President Trump's big, beautiful bill.
That's going to be great, but that won't kick in until about this time next year. So as a result of that, we're probably going to need to do something like we did last year.
He's referring to the billions of dollars Congress approved as economic assistance for America's farmers in December. He says whether that's the solution or something else, he wants it to come as soon as possible.
We're working with our fellow Congress people, making sure that they understand how difficult it is out there. We're blessed. The Arkansas delegation is totally on board. They're going to do whatever it takes in order to help our farm community.
In December, the Trump administration announced $12 billion in aid to help farmers until the big, beautiful bill takes effect. But experts say it may not be enough to help with the losses they saw in 2025. Our look back continues after this. Welcome back. Our next few stories are all about wildlife, kind of. The so-called kissing bug was spotted in Arkansas this year, and one bite could be very dangerous. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued the warning in mid-July. The kissing bug is mainly known for its distinctive orange, red to yellowish markings on its body and wings. They originate from the tropics and are drawn to heat. They're most active at night and grow to only the size of about a penny. But for a creature so small, it can cause pretty big problems because of the virus it can carry.
About 1 in 3 will have long-term symptoms. In other words, heart damage, enlarged heart, enlarged esophagus.
Dr. Ford says while the general public shouldn't panic, those most at risk include people without adequate housing and campers who sleep outside. He also says there are 3 species of kissing bugs that experts think are in Arkansas. And according to the Department of Health, there have been 9 cases linked to the virus in the state since 2014, 4 of which have occurred in the last 5 years. Next up, Arkansas was introduced to a new head hog in 2025. Ryan Silverfield took over as coach of the Arkansas Razorback football team in late November. The news came after a 2-month-long search that started after the firing of Sam Pittman in September, 5 games into the season. Offensive coordinator and former head coach Bobby Petrino stepped in with hopes of taking over the job permanently, but he didn't lead the team to another win, ending the season 2-10. A day after the season ended, athletic director Hunter Yurichek announced the hiring of Silverfield, news that was met with mixed reactions from Hog fans. But it quickly became clear that the new coach was focused on areas where many felt former head Hogs did not, recruiting Arkansans. And that led to excitement after introductory press conference where Silverfield and Yurichek talked for close to an hour about their vision for the future. You can watch that full talk right now on the THV11 YouTube channel. But that wasn't the only big coaching shakeup that we saw in 2025. In March, the university introduced Kelsey Musick as the new women's basketball head coach. Musick spent the last 3 seasons at Oral Roberts, collecting a 57-39 overall record that included back-to-back 20-win seasons. After the announcement, she said that she's honored and grateful to have the chance to lead the program. And let's wrap up our animal segment with a beloved mammal that's stealing the hearts of travelers across the country. We got word that Buc-ee's was officially coming to Arkansas back in 2024, but things didn't start moving until the spring of 2025. That's when hundreds of people, including several state leaders, gathered off I-30 in Benton for the groundbreaking ceremony. Carter Threet was there that day and shows us why people are so pumped for the new convenience store.
I was just overwhelmed by the turnout. I mean, it was huge. There were hundreds and hundreds of people here.
They say everything's bigger in Texas, but for Buc-ee's president Beaver Applin, whose company is based in the Lone Star State, it's Arkansas that has him excited for the future.
The Interstate 30 out of Little Rock, I think, will be ideal. The location was beautiful. Benton had the hiring base. We need 250 plus employees. So we needed a hiring base.
They also found a supportive community ready for the growth that the convenience store mega chain is known to bring. Benton Mayor Tom Farmer says he's already talked to people interested in putting their businesses by the Buc-ee's.
Ever since the Buc-ee's was announced, we seem to have an unbelievable amount of people interested in coming to this county.
Nobody knows that better than County Judge Matt Brumley, who told me that part of this project has been making sure they're ready for the growth. He says the weather we had at the start of April was a great test run to make sure the site can withstand heavy rains and flooding.
This site location held up, and the integrity was held within that site location, and that's exciting. It was a great test run to kind of put to rest some of the people's concerns in this community.
Farmer says they've also worked with RDOT to make sure this doesn't impact traffic on I-30, something people living in the area will be happy to hear. Now, the only thing that's left to do is get to work.
We realize that it's going to be a draw for our city. That's why we're so excited about it.
Since then, construction has continued, and those driving down I-30 continue to see progress being made on the construction. This is a look at what things looked like in mid-December. Officials are hoping to open the store in September 2026, and then Buc-ee's will start construction on another location in West Memphis. We're back after this. Welcome back, and we want to end things with our biggest story of 2025, and it's one that means a lot to THV 11 past and present. On May 26th, 2025, longtime chief meteorologist, father, and friend Ed Buckner passed away at 59 after what his family called a courageous battle with cancer. Buckner first joined the THV 11 weather team in 1996, where he later became chief and helped inform Arkansans of severe weather threats for nearly 3 decades. In early 2020, Buckner stepped away from his meteorology work at the station, citing complications with Tourette syndrome. Many across the state will forever remember his work during the January 21st, 1999 tornado outbreak. On that day, he, along with the weather team, covered and tracked 56 tornadoes, which included an EF3 tornado that struck Little Rock. His tireless dedication to his craft and protecting the people of Arkansas is what solidified his legacy as Arkansas's weatherman. He was inducted into the Arkansas Broadcasters Hall of Fame a few months after his death, and his daughter Brooke, who is now an anchor at THV 11, accepted the award on his behalf. Ed led his life with kindness, and that reflected in his dedication to make sure people were safe. And he'll always be remembered as a compassionate man who was always true to his word. And those are the top 11 stories we brought you in 2025. You can find out more about each one right now on THV 11. We want to thank our incredible digital team for putting that in-depth look back together. And finally, thank you for watching us, and we look forward to bringing you the very latest news, weather, and sports in 2026.